Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Student Impact Report, brought to you by the Student Basic Needs Coalition. I'm Taylor Allgood, joining you from Washington, D.C.
I'm Denaé Taylor, co-hosting from Sacramento, California.
So for our new listeners this week who are joining in, welcome and hello. The Student Impact Report is a podcast where student leadership meets real-world impact.
Each episode dives into the latest news affecting students and shares the stories of student leaders driving change on their campuses and beyond.
This is our third episode now. I can't believe we're already on the third week. We did release two episodes on the 18th and the 25th of February. So if you have not listened to those yet, be sure to check those out. We had some really good stuff on those episodes.
For more information and to listen on YouTube and Spotify, visit studentneeds.com/podcast for links to our show.
Yes, and on that note, we also have a new update that's pretty exciting. We officially launched our Student Impact Report podcast interest form for students around the country who want to engage with our podcast in some way, shape, or form. By completing the form, you have three options of how you would like to engage, which is really cool. One option would be submitting a question that will be addressed and answered right here on our podcast. Another option would be to submit a shout out for a student or organization on your campus that you would really like to highlight the work they're doing. And then finally, if you would like to be a guest on our podcast, we're always looking for student leaders around the country at different universities, colleges, 2-year, 4-year, you name it. And we just really want to talk to as many students as possible, get to know the work that they're doing, and just kind of get their insights on some different topics that we have coming up. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can find that link also on our website.
So for today's episode, we'll go over some of higher ed's news of our choice. And in honor of Women's History Month, join us in an open discussion on topics including reproductive rights and justice, Planned Parenthood, and other related subjects. So Texas legislature has proposed a $400 million cut to higher ed as Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick aims to eradicate DEI programs at the same time. The House and the Senate unveiled their state budget proposals, with both versions eliminating the Institutional Enhancement Fund. This fund was dedicated to higher education that provided $423 million to Texas universities in the last budget cycle. So how does this affect schools in Texas, if this is passed? The University of Texas at Austin would lose close to $40 million. Texas Tech University, University of Houston would both be down around $50 million. So while this is happening, Lieutenant Governor made a very adamant stance on his view on DEI. In a quote, he said, "If they don't take DEI out of their schools, they're going to get a lot less," Patrick said to applause at the Texas Public Policy Foundation Summit. Similarly, in 2023, Texas lawmakers specified in their budget that public universities were set to receive an extra $700 million in state funding. There's a catch, though. That money would evaporate if the legislature failed to pass two GOP-backed bills that would weaken faculty tenure and eliminate DEI offices at their university campuses.
I mean, yeah, I know we went into a deep dive kind of into these DEI rollbacks last week, but unfortunately, it does seem to be continuing. An interesting article that I found this week, published by the Business Insider on February 24th, is in regards to the shifting value of advanced degrees. And this is something that I particularly would like to speak on as somebody who recently graduated with my master's degree and had a time, I will say, entering the job force and trying to secure a job in my field. You know, this article highlights how advanced degrees were once seen as a ticket to job security and to financial security, higher earnings, but now these recent trends indicate that that is no longer a guarantee. You can come out of school with a master's degree, a PhD, but, you know, they mentioned in the article at the moment now, there's a twist. the higher the degree you have, the longer it will actually take you to find a job in your field, which to me is really hard to understand and grapple with because, education at all levels, undergraduate, graduate, PhD plus, every move that you make to invest in your education has always, been seen as valuable in society. You invest all of this money, all of this time, all of this effort into education with the expectation that your investment, you'll receive a return on investment. And the fact that now many students are graduating with higher education degrees and that's not meaning anything, they're still entering the job force at similar levels to students with undergraduate degrees or no degree at all. It makes it hard for somebody to rationalize the decision behind investing in higher education if there's no promise that there will be additional security to come with that. And, I had a similar experience coming out of college. I mentioned in spring of 2024, I graduated with my master's degree and I went straight through. I did my 4-year bachelor's degree at UC and then decided to do the 4+1 program. And so to me, I'm like, score, I'm getting 2 degrees in 5 years. And that prospect really excited me that I would be able to, enter the job force right away with a master's degree with the hope that I could, land a secure, high paying job. My reality is that I was applying for jobs nonstop for 7 months. I started applying for jobs in December of my last year of school, and I didn't secure the job that I have now until July of last year. And so it was a really humbling experience. I know many, many people around the United States experience this, and I am no different. Yeah, so just having that experience, I can definitely say that, everything that this article mentions is in fact true. Many employers are now prioritizing practical skills and experience over formal education credentials. And don't get me wrong, both are very important. You do want experience and you do want to have the education that your job requires, but this shift suggests a reevaluation of the traditional pathways to career advancement for people who once saw higher education as a path to higher earnings and success. And so the last thing I just want to mention about that is that, the rising cost of education that we're seeing, student debt burdens, and now all of these policy changes affecting higher education, student enrollment, graduate students who want to pursue research, they're being impacted. We're going to see, unfortunately, probably a big shift in the number of graduate students enrolling in education in the United States because of this.
It's really interesting. I had honestly no idea. I think that's like interesting to kind of see how just like everything's kind of changing constantly when it comes to higher education. In some lighter news, some universities have been engaging in sexual education interactive events on their campuses. So colleges and universities are adopting some innovative approaches to promote sexual health among students by combining education with entertainment. These initiatives aim to equip students with essential knowledge and resources to make informed decisions about their sexual health. For example, at Louisiana State, their student health center held a consent carnival on February 5th, which offered games and prizes to engage students in discussion about sexual health. They partnered with their campus organizations to have an event that used trivia to educate students on consent, healthy relationships, and troubling behaviors, all according to LSU student paper The Prevail. Another school on the West Coast, all the way on this side, California State University Fullerton, with their Titan Health program, hosted their annual Sex on the Lawn event to educate students on sexual health. The event provided free safer sex supplies, STI testing, and interactive mini games to engage participants. This was reported by their student paper, The Daily Titan. But it's just cool to hear how different campuses, even in the face of so many different policies from like the administrative level, they're still finding ways to integrate fun activity, educational consent, and sexual health programs to fight it all, and really helping foster a more comfortable and healthier just student community in general. So I really enjoyed reading this and hearing that there's full schools doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that is some pretty good news. And I will say I'm actually like positively surprised that Louisiana State is one university to be implementing some programming around this. Um, in 2023, in June of 2023, I believe we all witnessed the court case decision to reverse affirmative action. And we knew then and there that this is going to have, drastic effects on a wide range of things, including student enrollment in certain colleges and universities. And so what we're seeing now is one of these impacts of the ban on medical school enrollments in the state of Illinois. So Chicago Sun-Times posted an article this week talking about this impact and how it is affecting medical school enrollment in Illinois, particularly a student at the University of Illinois, Chicago, mentions in the article her personal connection to enrolling in medical school and how her grandmother, who was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, could have received, better care in the hands of her healthcare providers had, a doctor been Spanish speaking, and had they been more sensitive to her grandmother's cultural and other needs. Medical schools in Illinois have reported a noticeable decrease in the enrollments of Black and Latinx students in particular. So the number of Latinx students enrolled has decreased and plummeted actually by 42.6% between the 2023-2024 school year and this school year. And then the number of Black medical students decreased by 6.5% in last year, and mixed race medical students have declined by 8.3%. And so, medical schools are trying to explore alternative strategies to promote diversity, such as pipeline programs and holistic admissions processes to mitigate the effects of the ban. But unfortunately, this is just one example of many that we're seeing. This court case reversal has impacted the number of students who are entering some certain fields, and this could have, and does have really an effect on the type of culturally competent care for diverse populations around our country. And so, this will continue to create disparities in healthcare if it's not addressed. If it's not addressed.
Yeah, that's really hard to hear. Because medical school in itself is already like a challenging process, and if you're in for that many years just to start your practice right here, so it's like hard to hear that kind of enrollment is down for a lot of men running through.
Yeah.
Not our Women's History Month, we're taking a deep dive into reproductive justice, critical role organizations like Planned Parenthood, and the broader like bodily autonomy. From policy changes to grassroots activism, we'll explore how these issues impact students, communities, and the future of healthcare access. So let's get into it. So what do reproductive rights look like since the reversal of Roe v. Wade?
Yeah, I mean, since the reversal of Roe v. Wade in 2022, reproductive rights in the United States have become highly fragmented, with access to abortion and other life-saving reproductive healthcare services now being determined by individual state laws. And we can see the issue with that, right? Particularly in states that might have more of a very conservative viewpoint on healthcare, and reproductive healthcare especially. So since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, 14 states so far have enacted total abortion bans, meaning abortion is illegal in all cases and circumstances, which is affecting 22 million people of reproductive age. And, the fight over reproductive rights remains, and it remains at the center of U.S. politics. Some states have enacted near total abortion bans, others have implemented other strict gestational limits or mandatory waiting periods to get an abortion. So that's just a few ways that we're seeing the effects of the reversal of Roe v. Wade playing out into today.
I feel like I'm constantly like reminded of how lucky I am to be in a state like California, but at the same time, California legislator, California government could just decide that they don't want to allow abortions in the state anymore and that'd be done. So like that uncertainty is really hard to grapple with of like, while it's not affecting me right now, it could. Or if I want to move somewhere, that's something I have to think about. If I move to that state, would I be able to get an abortion there? Will I be able to get Plan B there? Whatever it is. So yeah, that's the uncertainty is a really big part for me. I'm kind of thinking about lately.
And it's unfair, right? Why is it fair that somebody who geographically is just located on the west side of the United States in California is able to access an abortion, but somebody who's geographically placed in a southern state, such as Mississippi, where abortion may be banned, how is that fair that, as with all of us being United States citizens, that the only thing keeping us from some of these life-saving services is literally the physical place where we are located? And as easy as it may be for some people to up and move to a new state, to, just take all their belongings and go to a state where something like that is, recognized and, allowed. Not many working class and low income people have that opportunity to just up and move across the country or to a new state where their rights may be more recognized and valued. And my heart goes out to those communities in these very conservative states that have been really limiting this healthcare to such great extent. My heart just goes out to them because I just can't imagine not having the ability or not even having maybe the desire. These people grow up in these states, have families here, and they shouldn't have to pick up and leave everything behind, even if they could, just to receive healthcare that every American citizen should have access to regardless.
Yeah, that's a really good point of like, you don't really choose what state you're born in. So you're just kind of stuck with that unless you have the ability or the choice to leave. But yeah, you're right. Not a lot of people can. That takes a whole other shift to finding new, income source, new job. If you're in school, finding a new school. So that process is like incredibly layered and it's hard to get through. So yeah, you're right. It's completely unfair and yeah, I hate that as well.
And that reminds me of another point going off of that students, particularly, this podcast is here and focused on student leadership and success. And so I'd be remiss to not mention the implication of this for college age students as well. And on the topic of travel and these communities not, having either the access or ability or the desire to move out of state for these services. The case is no different with students, right? Students in these restrictive states may need to travel in some instances great distances to receive abortion services, and that will just increase financial and logistical barriers, right? And what we're even seeing play out now on top of that is this further push to not only outlaw abortion and other reproductive healthcare services in some of these states. There's not only a push for that, but now some states are coming forward and saying you can't even travel out of the state to get those services because that will also be illegal. So unless these citizens are changing states completely in some cases, they might not be able to access a service at all. In one case of this that has been in the news recently is that the state of Montana are, going through the bill phase to make it illegal for people to travel outside of the state for abortion, calling it, quote, fetus trafficking or like human trafficking of an unborn fetus. No comment. Pregnant patients could receive a felony for traveling out of state, and other people involved in the abortion service could also be tried as responsible. I don't know what that will mean. Like if, say the state of Montana, if they're able to charge a doctor in another state for assisting in this, I don't know what that will look like. It's still in the, I guess, deliberation phase. So yeah, we could just continue to keep an eye on it. But Montana is not the only state getting creative with these strict policies. And so yeah, I'm just kind of zooming out here and just trying to think of what the overall goal of this is to just strip people so much of their their freedom of choice. And, um, yeah, I don't know. Opinions are my own. Opinions are our own. We are, given the platform to discuss our opinions, thanks to the Student Basic Needs Coalition. But yeah, views are our own, and I'll say it is my opinion. I feel like we're living in the Handmaid's Tale right now. I truthfully do.
Yeah. It's interesting how it's gonna work, because like obviously every state has their interpretation of it, but then some are stricter than others, even though like they'll ban abortion. Montana will go as far as we can't even leave. It's interesting how that can work with like interacting with other states' laws, but also it's just like all of it's really frustrating, because like they're forcing so many women or anyone with a uterus to give birth, but won't care for those children once they're born. Won't give the support or enough financial aid for those children to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So the cycle just keeps going, and it's hard to expect someone to give birth if they feel they're not ready or they don't want that child, you know? So it's really frustrating to see that, to see how different states are interpreting that. But a lot of that comes from like the legal uncertainty among states. Some ongoing legal battles mean that abortion laws are constantly shifting, like we just found right now with Montana. And one of those laws that got put into place after the reversal of Roe v. Wade are abortion shield laws. So abortion shield laws prevent legal actions against providers and patients from states where abortion is banned. And obviously, ongoing lawsuits are most likely going on in Montana right now, but especially in Texas and Louisiana, are testing those legal limits. Experts argue that these protections are crucial for testing. Experts argue that these protections are crucial for safeguarding reproductive rights amid growing legal challenges. There's always something to keep up on, so I really recommend just like paying attention to like the global news, national news, but also just the news in your area. Whether your abortion is banned in your state or not, just keep us stay informed, keep updated, because things are constantly changing and things are still at the different court levels and can change any day.
And on the topic of staying engaged and staying informed, particularly at the college level, I know that there are a lot of, student organizations and things dedicated to sharing information and resources so that students, particularly on campuses, do feel equipped to know how they can access these resources, even amidst all the political and policy chaos. And so, many campuses, about 350, I think, campus groups across the country have chapters of Planned Parenthood Generation Action. So Generation Action is a Planned Parenthood affiliated group that really mobilizes young activists across the country to organize events on their campuses and in their communities to mobilize other advocates for reproductive freedom, raise public awareness about reproductive health and rights, educate young people about sexual health, and then, just broadly creating this lasting change in their communities. I know when I was in college, my freshman and sophomore year, I was involved in starting the UC Gen A chapter at my school. So I was able to do some work on their executive board for the first 2 years as it was like really getting established on my campus. And so, yeah, if you are interested in getting involved, there are, like I mentioned, 350 at least around the country. So check in with your campus, see if there is a chapter of Gen A on your campus. And if there's not, check in, see if there's possibly a way to partner with the nearby Planned Parenthood in your area and get one created or chartered on your campus. Beyond that, I know there are also a wide range of other student organizations that may cover similar topics. It doesn't need to, just necessarily be affiliated with that organization in particular, but that was just one that came to mind. And I know that, depending on the university, there may be some others for the time being um, dedicated to these topics as well.
Yeah, and just for any other steps to move forward, we really recommend that you educate yourself just about sexual health in general. If your university puts on an event, like you mentioned earlier, with Louisiana State, if your university puts on an event like that, go ahead and check it out with your friends, with your roommate, wherever it is, and engage on campus with events like those, and engage with your sexual health centers on campus. Just learn more about yourself and then learn more from the communities around you as well. And of course, just creating lasting change in your community, this includes the education part of it. It's really important that we expand our understanding, but it's even more important to take that understanding and apply it to the real world, apply it to your real life and communities. Um, so we really recommend taking the time to learn, but then using that learning to organizing and start joining those chapters or starting those chapters at your schools. The work is hard. You can't look away. Conversations like these are really amazing, but the progress can't start and end here. You have to keep pushing forward and bringing it into your own friend groups and your family, bring it up to your parents, in small ways like that to start making that change. We need to continue to know our rights and mobilize to uphold them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as you mentioned, like these conversations may be hard or uncomfortable to have, but that just makes them all the more necessary because, if we do look away, or, choose to, um, just accept what's going on, who knows where the limit will end, who knows where this administration will take things. And so not just on this political level, but in all senses, we should just, yeah, just continue to be aware and help, educate and uplift our peers too.
So that wraps up this week's episode of the Student Impact Report. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at SPNC_USA for updates. You can also catch our episodes on Spotify and YouTube, so be sure to visit studentbasicneeds.com/podcast and tune in next week. Again, my name is Maya. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Student Impact Report.